I printed out what two masters have said about birthdays and the significance of birthdays. So this is when Ramana Maharshi was asked about birthdays. Most people in the world celebrate their birthday as a festive occasion. These wise words from Sri Ramana Maharshi show a different perspective and make one think about whether being reborn into samsara life should really be a celebration or rather be a reminder for us to inquire into our real nature. So Ramana Maharshi says, on one of my birthdays while I was in Virupaksha cave, probably in 1912, those around me insisted on cooking food and eating it as there was a celebration of the occasion. When the cooking and eating were over, Ishwara Swami, who used to be with me in those days, said, Swamiji, this is your birthday. Please compose 2 verses and I too will compose 2. It was then that I composed these 2 verses which I find in the notebook here. 1. You who intend to celebrate the birthday, first ascertain as to when you were born. The day that we attain a place in that everlasting life which is beyond the reach of births and deaths is our real birthday. Even on these birthdays that occur once a year, we ought to lament that we have got this body and fallen into this world, instead of celebrating the event with a feast. Wisdom consists in realizing the self and getting absorbed therein. Now these are the words of the Mother of Pondicherry. The birthday is truly a special day in one's life. It is one of those days in the year when the Supreme descends into us, or when we are face to face with the Eternal. One of those days when our soul comes in contact with the Eternal, and if we remain a little conscious, we can feel His presence within us. If we make a little effort on this day, we accomplish the work of many lives as in a lightning flash. This is why I give so much importance to the birthday, because what one gains in one day is truly something incomparable. My child, it is a very, very special day, for it is the day of decision, the day one can unite with the Supreme Consciousness. For the Lord lifts us on this day to the highest region possible, so that our soul, which is a portion of that eternal flame, may be united and identified with its origin. This day is truly an opportunity in life. One is so open and so receptive that one can assimilate all that is given. It is one of those days when the Lord Himself opens the doors wide for us. It is as though He were inviting us to rekindle more powerfully the flame of aspiration. It is one of those days which He gives us. We too, by our own personal effort, could attain to this, but it would be long, hard, and not so easy. This is a real chance in life, the day of grace. My friend Marie was in a Buddhist monastery for many years. So the exam to get into the monastery was one question. And the question was, what did your face look like before you were born? And her answer was, which made her get in, I was never born. It is said that those who are on a spiritual journey, which frankly includes all of us, have two births. One is the actual birth, and one is the spiritual birth. The awakening. The distinct point when one feels that one's journey of life has shifted. Mostly through pain. When what we have cherished and valued and worked hard for is taken away from us. And then we see how life is so transient, temporary, fleeting. And the search then begins for what is not temporary, what is not transient, and what is not fleeting. That is the birth of the spiritual seeker. Where there is a realization that peace of mind cannot be found in the flow of life, because life means pleasure and pain. when there's a realization that if God came to you and said, you have two choices. One, I will give you each and every pleasure that you want in life. Each of your desires will be fulfilled. Rest of your life will go on the way it has been designed to. But I promise you I'll fulfill all your pleasures and desires. Or the only thing I will do for you is take away your pain. Which one would you choose? I often use the example of my own spiritual teacher who suffered migraine headaches for almost 30 years. And one day he woke up and it was gone forever. And he said, at that point, I realized that the absence of pain is the greatest pleasure. So the real birth is the birth of the understanding, which leads to a new way of looking at life, a new way of looking at the past, a new way of looking at the future and whatever it may bring, and a new way of living in the present moment. And that birth into the new understanding of life and living happens with grace. Not something in your control. You come across something, you hear something, you read a book, you meet someone, and something touches you because you can see your life's experience reflected in that. And that birth marks the end of doership, the end of blaming, condemning, hating people for what they are supposed to have done to me. With the total acceptance that everyone in my life is an instrument of God, just as I am. There are some people I get along with, there are others I don't. But the same consciousness functions through everyone, just like the same electricity functions through all the gadgets in the kitchen, bringing about what each gadget is designed to produce. The toaster will produce toast, the juicer will produce juice, the way they have been designed. But without that electricity, they are dead objects in the kitchen. Similarly, everyone in our life, it is the same electricity functioning through all of us, without which talking and listening would not happen, because we would be dead. So who is talking and who is listening? That is what the Indian scriptures say. Consciousness is doing the talking, consciousness is doing the listening. So with this understanding, you start viewing all your relationships in a new light. Especially the people you don't get along with. You accept God has made them the way they are. Their conditioning, their childhood, their genetic imprint, based on which they say things and they do things, just like me. So, judging, hating, and blaming drop away. You are no longer pointing fingers at people. Yes, you will say what you need to and do what you have to if someone tries to take advantage of you or does something which you don't like. But what is removed is this illusion of an individual doing something to me. So the thinking mind, which used to always go into this direction of he did this to me, she did this to me, he said that to me, how dare he? That thinking mind, which was running all over the place, starts subsiding. The thinking mind which kept you up at night, the thinking mind which when you were walking on the road, you didn't see the beauty of the trees around you or the sea on the side, because the mind was constantly thinking. Those wheels get disengaged because the stories are over. The stories of this person said this and that one did this have collapsed. And that is the birth of presence, which is always there, which was covered by the thinking mind. All that has happened is that that thinking mind has calmed down, subsided, is at rest. Then one is present to what is. That is truly living. Because one has died to the concept of doership and accusing people of doing things. And what shifts is a shift from observing to witnessing. Life becomes more and more of witnessing. Because earlier I was observing. I was judging based on what I observed. This is good for me, that is bad for me. Comparing, over-analyzing. Observing means judging. Life shifts gears into witnessing. Which in other words is, if your age today is 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, whatever it may be, and all your life, every year, you have said today is my 30th birthday, next year it is my 31st birthday, next year 32nd birthday, next year 33rd birthday. So who is it who knows that this is my 30th birthday, this is my 31st birthday, this is my 32nd birthday, this is my 33rd birthday? There has to be something constant which knows the succession of the birthdays. That is the witness which has been forgotten. That witness does not have an age. The birthday, the age refers to the age of the body. That which knows, can that have an age? And age of what? If 1/3 of your life you have been in sleep, not even aware that you exist. In sleep, you are not aware that you exist. So, your birthday marks 35 years of what? 39 years of what? Minus 1/3. Because the story of the me dissolves in deep sleep and comes back again the next day. Your problems dissolve in deep sleep, your hopes dissolve in deep sleep, your pleasures dissolve in deep sleep. That is why Ramana Maharshi said deep sleep is your natural state. Maharaj would say on birthdays, does anyone remember when they were born? Then how can they celebrate their birthdays? No one can remember when they were born. Someone told you you were born on so and so day and so time. Do you remember it? Would anyone like to share anything? Eknath, would you be kind enough to share yesterday what you mentioned about, when you spoke about the neighbors who gave you a hard time? But what I found really touching was what you got from that experience. If you could share that, that would be wonderful.
So I had a couple of neighbors where I live. We had good relationships. In difficult times, I helped them financially. And then we have an association of homeowners. My house had a big problem, so I had to fix my house. And fixing created a lot of noise. And they weren't happy about it. And they also didn't want to entertain that my house needs to be fixed. And there were other political issues. So they started giving me trouble, and then there was argument. They started blocking the trucks. It happened 4, 5, 6 times, and finally they physically attacked me. And so I responded, and they filed fake cases against me. So this continued for last 2 years. Almost all cases have now concluded, and I have won those cases. So during all this time, first there was generally, when things like this start happening, there is a shame. Why it is happening? I must have done something wrong. And then, but conscience was clear that I have not done anything wrong. But there was anxiety because of all the cases and all. There was so I was suffering, and then I came to India. My mother was really sick. Then for a month we really served our mother in a hospital. But at the back of mind, the worry or the anxiety of the cases was going on. But I was watching everything and I was trying my best inwardly to remain calm and not give in to anger or bitterness. And then the anxiety level, etc., continued at a peak. And then it reached its point, and I was in a Vipassana course, and there Goenka Guruji was explaining that how all this anxiety, etc., are nothing but sensations that you don't like, and there is nobody really doer, and there is nobody experiencer. Everything is just happening, and things just started clicking after that, and after that, and I got came across I am that. In Vipassana, I got the understanding that who I am not. That I am not experiencer, I am not doer, things are happening. And then this was a realization from within. And then when I read I am that, I realized who I am. So, and then I came across your videos. And then video after video, this was just explosion of understanding and so the whole thing then.
But how do you view your neighbours?
So now after all this, I have been a spiritual practitioner since age 18, and now I see that what a big, huge role my neighbours have played in whatever now I have realized. Without them, it would not have happened. So, they have helped me immensely. They have played such a great role that I only have huge gratefulness for them. There is no anger, bitterness, but just a lot of gratefulness that without them, without they playing what they had to play,
right,
it would not have happened.
Right. That's the main thing. So there's no resentment, there's no ill will. Those drop away. There's saying, no, if, like with friends like these, who needs enemies? In this case, it is with enemies like these, who needs friends? So they are your greatest teachers. The one you don't get along with is your greatest teacher. Because they are giving you an opportunity to see things as they are. Not to always react. Push a button, react. Push a button, react. The mic. No, for the recording.
I went through a very big crisis in my life when I never experienced any death. My parents, grandparents were alive. I lost my son, my husband, brother, one after the other. So that I lost the will to live completely.
Of course.
I was not eating properly. Otherwise, I was very careful about my health. And I was hungry. I was used to drink coffee, tea. Still, my energy level was very high. I didn't become weak. Nothing happened. So one day, I threw the Krishna. I said, you won't allow me to live. You won't allow me to die either. So my hands started writing. In divinity, there is only justice. Everything happens when the soul is ready for it. So I kept on asking questions. All the answers came in the form of a beautiful song. My mother tongue is Tamil. So I found the answer in all that. And from that day, there was something inside. This death wish became very, very weak. It was there somewhere in the corner. Then my intuition, I got connected to my higher mind. And then I started with every song, every Tuesday and Thursday, I'll ask the question. I don't know, it was just strange coincidence. The song would come. The song was full of energy. If somebody heard that song also, even if they didn't know the language, they said, I came with a problem after hearing this. I found a solution. Then, like a joke, I said, Krishna, nobody knows Tamil here. My Hindi is only Bajiwala Hindi. I don't know Hindustani raga, nothing. My hands started writing it. But whatever I'm saying is sacred and secret, not to be shared outside. And lot of philosophical question answer. In one of my Hindi songs, I say, Bhakti se dukh zyada hai. I love the people I've lost more than I love you. I believe in you. And towards the end, as I was evolving, the last song was, I have won. You know, bhakti has become better than the pain. Then after some time, the song stopped. I thought I'm going down in my spiritual evolution. So I went to Madras. That week, one of my neighbor, she said, I'm going to see my guru and I'm going in a taxi alone. Will you come with me? I said, okay. I came. That Guruji looked at me. She said, if Krishna keeps giving you songs, you will just, you'll mohit ho jayegi, aage nahi jayegi. Then I found an answer, So that way, every day some miracle was happening. Every single day. So that I was, whatever you call siddhi. And she said, don't be too much enamored by siddhi. The siddhi has to go, then only it will be. This is all blocks for you. So at the right time, I got the answer. Otherwise, I would have been so sad if I didn't have the siddhis which I had and the songs were not coming. So in the last 25 years, I've been working with a lot of people who've lost a son, but no advertisement, nothing. How it happens, one person had a serious problem. He went to the temple, he was praying. Whenever he was praying, he got my image. He telephoned, he said, I have a seat. This is how people, I'll give you one more example. I went to a doctor, I fell down. And suddenly when he was going, he asked me, what do you do, Mrs. Raghavan? He said, I'm so sorry, I never asked personal question. I said, there must be a cosmic reason for it. That night itself in Baroda, somebody met with an accident. They lost a son and a husband. This is how people come to me without any advertisement. And as this is like this, I'll give you an example. I was in the station, people in the station, they are drinking coffee, reading paper and all that. I was doing that. Now I got into the train. I know my destination. So I'm sitting in the train, I'm journeying. I know where I want to go. And all my songs, I don't, one of my songs, the last, I'm not able to sing because I have a throat. This really happened in my life. Maine kadam ek raka Prabhu vor, Prabhu ne liye hazar meri vor, isi divya prem ke karya, janma lungi mai baar baar. I want to take birth. I want to take birth as a woman only. And so all the songs, I'll give you my Hindi songs through Anand next time.
Sure.
So a lot of philosophy also comes in the practical philosophy. And so now yeah, I'm able to live in the present effortlessly. At least, I am conscious my mind goes somewhere.
Right.
That's also, and my energy, I'm 70 plus. My energy level, I get up at 4. I don't even sleep, and my energy level is high. I don't become tired. So I feel the energy is through the inner kachada I've been removing. I'm still doing it. And so that light, whatever happened that day, from that day, there's no turning back. And my pain has not gone in vain. And sometimes accidentally also it happens. The other day I went to see somebody who's young man who had a heart problem. I wanted to give him a few health tips. That person gave a wrong address of the parents. I didn't want to see them. When I went there, they had lost their son about 4 years back. They were still mourning, nurturing the pain. I mean, see, I have pain, but I'm not suffering. So when I went there, and they started crying, they said, "This is my son who died." So then I don't think, most of the time, I don't think I talk. Sometimes I say something stupid, also it works. In retrospection, it's no longer stupid. And so I spent an hour with them. Every time something like this happened, my bhakti, it's a win-win. All my interactions are win-win. Not that I lose and somebody gains. And when I was leaving, that mother said, "I will definitely pass this test. I won't fail." I said, in universities and all that, you study and you're given a test and you pass. If you pass, you go to the next standard. But in real life, you're tested, then you learn. Then you learn your lesson. So I said, "If you fail, we don't want to take the test again in another life." She said, "Definitely, I'll pass the test." So that's sort of, my pain doesn't go in vain. I'm able to give support to somebody just with minimum interaction. What is a tipping point? Something little I do, it's got a great impact. So that makes my life very meaningful. Though I miss all the loved ones, but it's like parallelly there is peace also. Peace and joy. I fit in, like Ramana Maharshi says, like in Tamil it says, I don't, you align your desire with the cosmic will.
Yes.
In Tamil it's so beautiful. In translation it loses its
Sure.
impact.
And you see,
Anand's
this is
mother.
sorry, your Anand's
Mother.
Oh, I didn't know that. Coincidentally, today in the Aurobindo Ashram in Pondicherry, today is celebrated as Siddhi Day. 20 November is the day when Sri Aurobindo said the Krishna consciousness descended into him.
Yeah, in the prison.
And it's so mysterious. You see, your story is also very similar to a lady who we had published. Her name is Nan Umriga. She wrote a book called Sounds of Silence.
What's her
Now,
name?
Nan Umriga. Now, Nan, one of her sons was a jockey. And he was one race away from winning the cup for the year. And he fell and went under the horse and died. And then he started communicating with her. And he introduced her to her guru, Meher Baba, who was in the afterlife. And she was somebody who had no interest in this, no concept of all this kind of stuff, thought it was ridiculous, it was made up, it was imagination and all that. But yet, she took that step and went to Mehrabad, and then her journey began. and she started auto writing, getting messages from her son and whatever. Now, since that point, her life has been a life of service to those who are not able to deal with the loss of loved ones. But see, we can only guide others once we know what loss is. That is the sad part of it. But can there be a truer guide? If it is your own experience, you know the peaks of loss. Who else would be better than you to guide anyone as far as loss is concerned? And then one knows that this was meant to happen. And one knows that it is not me guiding anyone. Guidance is happening because this was my life's blueprint, this was the chosen path, and I am an instrument through whom it is happening. Till it is supposed to happen. And the emperor of all siddhis, one reaches one's own conclusion, is peace of mind. Because if one does not have that, the other siddhis lose their value. When Nisargadatta Maharaj had his beedi shop in Khetwadi, one Aghori Baba came to the shop and said, I have heard you are a master. I can show you 2 suns in the sky right now. Can you do better than that? And in his language, which was not always very sugary, he told the Baba to get lost. And he said, whether you show me 2 suns or 1,000 suns is irrelevant. But are you abiding in your own being? That is the ultimate. But it is, as you rightly said, it is such a humbling experience to know that one can impact another's life. And the reason is because whether one is aware of it or not, there is no other. By helping someone else, it may appear you're helping someone else. It appears like that. But if all there is consciousness, you are only helping yourself. And songs are vibrations. Like you said, they have a healing effect.
Yes.
So that's the vibrational power of the words.
I'll send it to Anand, the
Yeah.
Hindi ones.
Yeah.
So it's automatic writing. add one more. I was a professional counselor earlier. I didn't mind taking credit for the right reason. I used to feel, but after this divine came, as I told you, I do stupid things. It works. Like, I'll give you an example. I told a telephone, without any gross thing, I say something. I told her not to go to school. That day, I told all of them. That day, some crumpled and fell down. And then one lady, she said, during the summer holidays, I'm going to spend time with my mother. I'm going to daughter. The mother is just 2 stations away. And I told her, why are you waiting till? Go and spend some time with her. So she went and spent some time. Immediately her mother died. She said, my mother was going to die. Why you didn't? I said, definitely I don't know. I don't know. At that point, it looked stupid. So after sometimes, when some higher forces is working, otherwise I used to take credit for what I did. Here, I don't, that's why I keep it sacred. When somebody, one lady, she was severely depressed and they did shock treatment, everything. She stopped talking for 2 years. That's the time she came to me. And I do very simple things. I coordinate with the psychiatrist and taper off the thing. And I do this uttak, baitak, walking on the thing. And then I cook with my energy. So there's no expectation because some higher, when you do it yourself as an ordinary good person, you tend to take credit. It's okay also. But here, I know it's higher forces working. And she started talking the next day. She didn't talk. So naturally, I can't take credit for it.
Exactly.
See, I always tell them, maybe you come at the end of your karma. So I'm able to keep it sacred and secret also because I'm just an instrument. 1% I do, 99% some higher forces work. So you don't, it automatically, it's a humbling experience, as you say. How I went to this person, I thought it was his wrong address. So a couple was, they had other beautiful children. Everything was there, but they were nurturing the pain. And also sometimes society also sort of, what she's young son died and all that,
Yes.
So you sort of, and not to cry, I tell them to cry. I do all the opposite of what the professional counselor would do. One day, somebody in the College of Social Work, they said my sister tried to commit suicide so many times. She is admitted in the hospital. So I said, every time you failed, I tell you how to do it. A normal counselor will never say like that. She broke down crying. I was trying to keep attention and she told all the problem. That's why I said I do stupid things. It works. In retrospection, you can no longer call it stupid. And also, you feel humbled. And also it's a win-win. I'm not giving somebody, I'm receiving much more than I'm giving. This lady who started talking after 2 years, I was, my thing, every time something happens, my hair would stand on end and there'll be tears. I will get into ecstasy. Even sometimes, very little, I'm talking about birds also. One day when I was walking, there were a lot of food there. It was in Ooty. As soon as I walked in, the birds will fly away. So I told them in all 3 languages, Tamil, English and Hindi, I know. Please don't go away. You eat. I'll also walk. You also eat. All of them stopped eating. And I was walking. Then I wanted to tell somebody how the birds also pick up. I wanted them to take a photograph, then they flew away. Maybe, it'll make you proud or something, no? So sometimes even, maybe that's the reason. Even sometimes these sort of things also, So to get aligned with cosmic will, when the energy around is good.
Yeah. And pleasure arises when one sees outcomes which one is happy with.
Yes.
What happens is that pleasure does not convert to pride.
Yes.
Because it's not my action.
Yes, yes.
Now see, I say stupid things here and people come. People ask me, do you plan what you are going to speak about? And I said, no, because then that is coming from the thinking mind.
Yes, intelligent.
I just sit, maybe a vague sense like today, okay, birthday, so I knew I'm talking of birthdays, but there's no plan because it should not be processed through the thinking mind. And truly, I used to think my guru was talking the obvious. He would just say everything is God's will, nobody does anything. What everyone is looking for is peace of mind. I thought that is so simple. Are people really coming to listen to that? That's how I began. These are the fundamentals of life. So we don't know. Like you rightly said, what may appear to be stupid takes effect in some other way. So should we sit for 10-15 minutes and then we can have some tea and coffee? I would like to just read out something because there's such misconception about meditation. And again, this is what Ramana Maharshi has to say. Bhagwan once told a story about a man who wanted to bury his own shadow in a deep pit. He dug the pit and stood in such a position that his shadow was on the bottom of it. The man then tried to bury it by covering it with earth. Each time he threw some soil in the hole, the shadow appeared on top of it. Of course, he never succeeded in burying the shadow. Many people behave like this when they meditate. They take the mind to be real, try to fight it and kill it, and always fail. These fights against the mind are all mental activities which strengthen the mind instead of weakening it. If you want to get rid of the mind, all you have to do is understand that it is not me. Cultivate the awareness, I am the immanent consciousness. When that understanding becomes firm, the non-existent mind will not trouble you. So this is not about concentration, concentrating on one thought, concentrating on what should be. It is the acceptance of what is and whatever arises, whatever thought comes. Consciousness contemplating on consciousness, because otherwise we are so busy thinking about things, doing things, but when we sit with just being, human being, we are being ourselves. And then when thoughts come, they are witnessed just like we see cars going by on the street. We witness them. We don't start running after the cars. And sometimes when we find while meditating that our minds did run away with a thought, just that awareness stops the running away. That awareness comes, my God, I was thinking about something. And that is the end of that thinking. It's as natural as that. Not the should be, not the there should be no thoughts in meditation. There should be no thinking in meditation. That should be is the concern here. So there is no such thing as a bad meditation. It's not possible. Even if I sit and close my eyes for 10 minutes like I will do now, no matter what thoughts come, the fact is that I am aware that I had many thoughts in the meditation. So in fact, it points more and more to my awareness. If I have more thoughts, who is it who is aware that they had more thoughts? So there is no failure here. There is no turning back. So just like any sound, arises in consciousness and dissipates in consciousness, all that happens in our day, in our lives, the arising of it, the subsiding of it, is what takes place, but the witness is always there. So when these two touch, with that awareness that there was silence before the sound, during the sound, and after the sound, that is the witness. I'll tell you something funny. Every year I go to the Ramana Maharshi ashram and buy a desk calendar. And there are two versions. One has Ramana Maharshi's photos and his quotes, and one is the version with Arunachala Hill. So when Sangeeta requested me to give a talk on my birthday, since it fell on a Sunday, I said, let me first make sure it's on a Sunday. So I looked at this calendar and there is no 24th November. It's a misprint, but it's not there. So I looked at it 2-3 times. And then I said, I don't know what meaning it is, but it does mean I was not born. Crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Synchronicity.
So I have a friend from Australia who wished me and he said, I hope you've not yet collapsed into the void. So let's have some snacks and tea and coffee now.
It becomes a collectible now. It becomes a collectible.
It's giving you a message.